As you walk through your life, sometimes carefully balancing between things that are good or bad for you, have you ever wondered how much time you actually have? How much time have you spent doing trivial things? How much time have you spent being happy in your life? How much have you been unhappy? How much time have you spent on autopilot without ever thinking, wait a minute, is this really life? If you have ever had such a question in mind, congratulations, because you have taken the first step in the right direction. And for all of you who have the opportunity to take that first step today, you will receive your life bill on the table. The internet is our greatest modern invention in the history of humanity, an invention that enables the unstoppable spread of knowledge, but only for those who know how to properly utilize the opportunities offered by such a network. This network has irreversibly changed our lives in just a few decades. It allows a completely anonymous person to change someone else's life on the other side of the planet without ever having direct physical contact. Isn't that fantastic? Today, you will hear an original story that I personally heard from a man more than 15 years ago, a story he probably heard from someone else or read somewhere. Today, thousands of you will encounter new data about your lives for the first time. Data that never crossed your mind before. These data will change the perspective of some of you, and you will value your remaining time much more. So, is there life before death? It depends on the individual. It depends on what you consider as life. Many years ago, while having a conversation with the father of my best friend, as a young, inexperienced boy, I shared my life philosophies and thoughts with that man. In response, he laughed and said, "You have no idea what you're talking about because you're just a newborn on the autopilot of life." I was taken aback because I didn't understand what he meant. What newborn? I'm 15 years old. What autopilot? I had no clue what this man was talking about until the next minute when he deconstructed my thoughts, which are still deeply ingrained in my memory today. He told me this: "You're 15 years old. How much of those 15 years have you truly lived? How much experience do you really have to give your opinion about this life? Now let me take away the years you've lived. You were born then, and you don't remember your childhood until you were 3 or 4 years old, so you weren't even consciously living. On average, most people don't remember anything until around the age of 4. Let's subtract these 4 years from your 15, and now you're left with 11 years of life. Out of these 11 years, you've spent about a third sleeping on average. Based on that, we can subtract another 4 years. Now you have 7 years of life left. Subtract from these 7 years a few years of primary education that taught you how to read and write, how to communicate with people, and add to that every minute, day, month, or year you've spent on trivial things. And tell me what remains after all of this. Within those 15 years of time that you call your life, you have read a few books, watched a few documentaries, and then you concluded that you have an opinion about life and that you can philosophize here like those foolish girls who fall for such tricks." This man addressed me with those exact words. That person wasn't angry, wasn't rude, but rather brutally brought me down to earth and exposed all the knowledge I thought I had. And after that, I wasn't angry. I wasn't disappointed. I was fascinated, and I wanted to know more. And over time, I learned a lot more. And I independently expanded and upgraded this person's thinking with my own thoughts and ideas. Ideas that, after all this time, I can share with other people who will appreciate or not appreciate such ideas. When we take our lives and brutally put them into a simple calculation on paper, we come to astonishing data that many people have never even thought about. If the average human lifespan is around 70 years, give or take a year in certain countries, where, for example, we lag behind Japan by a full 10 years, which is a huge difference. Let's take those 70 years and apply what was mentioned at the beginning of the video. And let's add that a large number of people in the majority of the world spend their last year of life in drastically compromised quality of living due to chronic diseases. Let's add some new information to these facts. For example, small details like this one, which are truly shocking. Did you know that the average person from developed parts of the world spends an average of 6 months of their life waiting in lines? Lines in shopping centers, lines at the post office, etc. Any line that comes to mind. On average, you spend a full 6 months of your life in them. You stood and waited for 6 months of your life. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. How much time have you lost in traffic jams that you could have avoided in your life? It depends on the country and individuals, but on average, you have lost a year of your life sitting in a car or other means of transportation in city traffic. How much time have you spent in those jams, and in general in life, feeling stressed and annoyed because of those same jams? This information will be of great interest to the female audience, and all the data I mention are based on scientific studies and research, as scientists were very interested in such social data. And as for women, here's a little example. On average, women spend a year and 3 months of their lives on makeup and beautification, most often in their bathrooms in front of the mirror, while men spend 45 days shaving. And speaking of shaving, the time spent on shaving and depilation is not included in that year and 3 months of life. Of course, some things are necessary because it wouldn't be very convenient for men to walk around with their beards getting caught on things, or for women with their hair. Some things are inevitable, although we can still rationalize the time for such activities a little better. Let's now move on to things that are truly frightening, things that most people are completely unaware of, and do them on autopilot in life. What you are about to hear is truly concerning. You spend 9 years of your life, I repeat, 9 years of your life on average watching television. You heard that right. And do you know what's even worse? That you have spent 3.5 months of your life deciding what to watch on that same television. Some of you might say now, but I enjoy watching TV, and I like to watch a good series in the evening because it relaxes me after a hard day at work. That's true from your perspective, but I repeat, you spend 9 years of your life on average watching others, often fictional lives. Keep relaxing. When you reach the end of the average 70 years of your life on this earth, you probably wish you could turn back a few years. When we subtract everything we've listed and everything we haven't listed from your average lifespan, which lasts a mere 70 years, because it's simply impossible to cover every trivial thing in this video, we come to the conclusion that what you're living and what you consider your life is not life at all. Only after these realizations, which are completely new to some people, will you become aware, for the first time, of the opportunity to better utilize your remaining time, because you simply don't have time to spare. Simple calculations show that you don't have time to waste if you truly want to make the most of your life. How many of you spend your time in a job you don't love? If you spend your time on such jobs, like the majority of people do, because only a few people do what they truly love and desire, you have literally lost 11 years of your life, doing jobs you don't want to do and jobs you don't love. When we subtract the majority of these things from your average life, we arrive at the average number and the true duration of your life. You actually live your lives for only 10 years. How happy were you during those 10 years? How unhappy were you? How much of that time did you spend doing activities you truly love? How much time did you spend feeling love for someone? How much time did you waste on anger, arguments, or even hatred? Some people at this very moment, just like on every video I make, feel anger towards me or other people. They are entering the statistics of wasting their lives because they feel negative emotions towards us, emotions that we cannot feel in them. That negative emotion resides only within them. And you live with it, and you feel why you feel bad. Not me or anyone else. Isn't that wasting your life? It is essential to understand that you simply don't have time to waste. Because what is common to all people is that the majority of them, at the end of their lives, say that their life, or rather time, has flown by. And no one with 50, 60, or 70 years of life will say in the comments under this video, "I'm 50 years old, but it feels like I've lived for 100 years." No one will tell you that. They will all say they feel like they're 20 or 30 years old, even though time has inexorably consumed them. The vast majority of people, in their final days on their deathbeds, regret the time wasted. They regret the time spent in anger, the time spent in arguments, the time lost in jobs they didn't love. They regret missed opportunities for love, and they regret the fear that held them back from taking any action. You literally don't have time to postpone your decisions. You don't have time for the decision. I'll start exercising from tomorrow. I'll start a diet from tomorrow. I'll be more responsible with money from tomorrow. And I'll approach the girl I like from tomorrow. That tomorrow often turns into the day after tomorrow, then into a month, then into, I'll start making changes from the next new year. And then into, I've never changed anything in my life. The time for decisions is now. No one will make it for you. You have to conquer your fear and move away from the job you don't love. Move away from a partner who suffocates and drains you. No one but you will make that change in your life that will finally make you stop wasting that same life. No one else will do it. Only a foolish person can keep doing the same thing over and over again and hope for a positive change. Such a positive change rarely happens on its own, and you simply don't have time to wait for it, because I guarantee you that some among you will one day wake up old and helpless, regretting the time they've missed. And I guarantee you that these words will motivate the majority of you in a positive way. Next time, maybe even today or tomorrow, you will stand in crowds and lines at the shopping center, spending on average 6 months of your life in those lines. The time you have wasted so far, or could have reduced on unnecessary and trivial activities, is irretrievably lost. How you spend it from today onwards is entirely up to you. My advice to you is to truly live your life to the fullest, the way you truly desire, without delay, starting from the smallest details that will initiate your change, all the way to the big things that await you. And of course, without fear of change, because that is your biggest problem, the fear of change. We cannot overcome that fear for you, but we can help you overcome it together. The first step towards positive change is to stop wasting your precious and short lives. So, is there life before death? As I've already said, it depends on the person.